Welcome, Titan 6 Actual and 3GX Mental Performance. Welcome you to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. I'm your co-host, Lou Greco from Titan 6 Actual, and alongside me is the brilliant Sarah Grippi-Snyder from 3GX. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the human spirit, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, this show is for you. We'll explore stories of triumph, setbacks, and unwavering determination that propels us forward. As a retired Army Engineer Reservist, I've faced challenges on the battlefield and beyond, and now I'm on a mission to help you discover your inner Titan.
And I'm Sarah, also known as Coach Grip, a mental performance coach. Together, we dive into the psychology of peak performance, mindset strategies, and how to overcome mental blocks. Whether you're aiming for the podium or simply striving for personal growth, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore the intersection of physical and mental strength, share expert insights, and celebrate those who go beyond the finish line. So grab your headphones, lace up your sneakers, and let's break barriers together. Remember, it's not just about crossing the finish line, it's about what lies beyond. Welcome to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll feature incredible guests, share practical tips, and ignite the fire within you.
Breaking Barriers is all about inspiring, empowering people to be the best version of themselves, better than who they were yesterday, helping others do the same. So what we're trying to do here is go behind the scenes, behind the finish line, if you will, with our next guest, Ashley Buckeye. Ashley, welcome.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, no, super excited as well. We got to speak, where was it? At Austin DECA.
Yes. Yeah, it was
right?
Austin DECA.
First spoke at Austin DECA, got to hear a little bit of your backstory, breast cancer badass, in your words, right? And just in spite of all that, filled with tons of positivity. So thank you for being on, taking the time out. I don't think I could do a better job, really, though, at introducing, who you are. So in your own words, tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Well, and if is it bad? This is probably going to be the question that I'm just like,
all good.
No, so I'm bare bones basics. So Ashley Buckeye. I am 39 years old, breast cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at the age of 35, stage 2. Diagnosed March 31st of 2020, which, fun time for everybody.
Yeah, sure.
But I am based in Phoenix, Arizona. Grew up in Wyoming. And been with, and how Lou and I met is I work for Spartan Race and, now also Tough Mudder, since we've acquired them and been with them for almost 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time flies. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. I cannot believe it. Like my 7-year start date is coming up, and I think, God, I'm looking at my calendar. I think I'm about 2 weeks out from my.
Oh wow,
my
that's exciting.
7-year.
And what did you do? What did you do before that again? You were a dispatcher.
I was a 911 dispatcher.
911 dispatcher.
So, police, fire, EMS, did all the fun stuff. And
nice. So, what inspired you being on the call is, as you mentioned, breast cancer survivor. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, when you gave your rundown of, what you had been through, I was like, I think your story would inspire a lot of people.
And I sure hope so.
And so I'm so glad that you're willing to be vulnerable and talk about, your journey and the bumps along the way and the things that, hopefully people can be inspired by. Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about pre-diagnosis, Ashley.
Yes. Yeah, so pre-diagnosis, Ashley. So growing up, my mom and dad made sure that my brothers and I were always involved in some kind of athletic activity. And for me, the one that stuck was gymnastics, and did that for 10 years until I was forced out from injuries. And after that, I kind of floundered around until I got into weightlifting and just fell in love with the gym. And I would spend hours in the gym, just not because I felt like, oh, I didn't eat right today, so I have to punish myself and be in the gym for hours on end. I truly loved watching my body change, and then also just kind of showing myself what my body could do, and watching that and tracking that growth. And it's something that is just, it's very neat to see how just it just automatically just happens through pushing yourself. And so yeah, before pre-diagnosis, that was a lot of my time. I would be, in the gym, or I would be at home, doing some crafty things, like my lovely little mirrors behind me made those. And and either that, or I would be out working. And with Spartan, it's a very active job, and that's one of the things I love about it, because I get to get my hands dirty. But then with the job that I have, I still had that analytical spot where I could just kind of break away, do any of my counts and stuff like that, and still kind of use that part of my brain too. So it was the polarity
Yeah,
was there.
exercise mentally and physically.
Exactly. And
Got it.
that was,
Got it. Got it.
yeah, that was something that I absolutely loved about it, and I still do. So yeah, so that was pre-diagnosis, Ashley.
So, so how would you say the pre-diagnosis, Ashley, and that mentality of things that you enjoyed, how much do you think that plays a part? And I know we're going to go into a little more detail, but what kind of influence was that? It sounds like you were always positive. You came
Yes.
you came across that way for sure, and your
Yeah.
words. You what was it? Toxic positivity. I
Yeah,
think
that's the word. That's the
someone
word.
told you.
Yeah, it's like a toxic positivity, because I've always, ever since I was little, I've always fought to find the silver lining. And
Mm,
that is something that, it exists. It always exists. Sometimes it's paper thin, but it is there, and you have to train your mind to find that and be watching for it. And I think that is something that a lot of people have lost that, and
mm.
it's because of, terms like, the toxic
Yeah.
positivity, which,
How dare you be so positive?
yes,
I feel like
exactly.
crap, and I want you to feel like crap too.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, by all means, yes, because there's a difference between being like overly positive and being delusional. Like there's
Sure.
there's a difference between the
Yeah.
two.
Right.
But
Right. Right.
but
Well said. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that's, I mean, that's something I acknowledge. But yeah, I mean, just I've always fought to keep myself positive, because there's so much negative influence that
Mm.
surrounds us, and it's so easy to let that in and let that infiltrate your mind and how you view anything
So this is
in the world.
this is
And
clearly something that's come natural
yeah,
to you, right?
yes.
Now, what I what I didn't explain, and for anyone that's new to the podcast, I like to present the questions, kind of dig into, like, or not dig into, but more like, you know, draw out
Yeah.
those characteristics that I hope people will benefit from. And then Sarah does like this deep dive, magic trick where she like shows you, that everybody could do this and how they can do it, um, through her exercises and how she coaches individuals and groups. So,
Yeah.
Sarah, what's your take on this? Right, Ashley is walking into, even pre-diagnosis, she's walking into this as
Mhm.
like this, super positive individual. But say she didn't. Like, how do you develop a mindset like Ashley's?
So something that I was listening to her is about how one of the sports that she stuck with was gymnastics. And I know when it comes to gymnastics, it's a very, very dedicated sport. I know that people have, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes in that gym. And when you're talking about going to the gym all the time, you said I went there because I like to see the change, not because you punish yourself. I think that's a gymnast mentality where they realize there's so many different elements that you have to work on. And it's really cool that, like, past Ashley was able to take and carry that throughout the rest of your life, because people don't realize sports impact so much within our whole entire life. And it's just like, oh, it's within a team. No, it's within your career. It's within you talking to your friends. It's within your family. And the fact that you love seeing that small little change here and there, you implement it way more than just in the gym. And I can tell within your career now at Spartan, you're able to like implement and be able to travel and see the good in everything. And even within your cancer journey as well, it's like, how can I tackle this the best way possible? Because you did that so young in your throughout your gymnast career that you're able to implement it there. So those are the certain things that I was looking at while you were explaining. I was like, huh, wow, like I see why now, because I remember you talking about being a gymnast, but I think people forget about the hours and dedication that you need to go into it. So yeah, that's kind of what my little dive deepness was
Yeah.
all about. It's like, wow, like she really puts a lot of time and effort into those things.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. So, now you get diagnosed.
Yes.
It's got to be freaking scary. I can only imagine.
Yeah.
What are the days and weeks like immediately after diagnosis for you?
Well, and before we really like dive into all of this too, I always want to. This is anytime I have a discussion with someone, I always tell everyone's journey is going to be different. So by all means, take that into account, because everything that you've been through prior to is going to have that path already laid out for you for how your steps are going to start. And for me, so I very beginning of everything. So I initially, this was back, it would have been like December of 2019. A self check is what kind of brought the lump to my attention, and I immediately knew with just down to my core it was cancer. And it wasn't until March that I was finally able to get everything checked, do the biopsy. And something I point out too, so I always tell everyone it was March 31st of 2020 when I got my diagnosis. And I am so grateful, because had it been a day later, it would have been April 1st, 2020, which would have been April Fool's Day, which would have been that would have just
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, I could somewhat appreciate it, because that's just the universe laughing and going, "Hey,
Here, try this one
Joke,
out."
but not
yeah,
really.
thanks, yeah." Well, it's like I would prefer if you like short sheeted my bed instead, please. But cancer, okay. And so it was a little bit of a shock, because even though I knew, you're of course you're hoping it's not going to be.
Right. You're like,
But
maybe some off chance.
yeah,
It's not.
it's like maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong. But that just following your gut and knowing you had that intuition for a reason, and it was just going off. So I knew. And so I remember getting off the phone with my doctor. And my parents were down here snowbirding. And I go out into the living room, and my mom I could tell she had overheard some of the call because she was pale. And she's just looking at me with anticipation. And I said, "It's cancer." And she broke down. My dad comes in from outside and sees my mom crying. I'm crying, and my dad is just an amazing man. Uh, Instantly, he and my mom start praying over me, and I knew. I was like, okay, I need to work through this emotion. I need to process this. I can't ignore this. Let myself feel what I need to feel. And I had talked with a few of my really good friends because I didn't want to do like a post on Facebook or Instagram and have that be the way that they found out.
Sure. Yeah.
And one of my friends that I had talked with, Tristan, she and I have known each other for years and years, and she's one. The reason why she and I get along so well is we're both very blunt, and and she she had told me, she's like, okay, you know what it is, you know what's going to happen, so you're allowed to be sad, you're allowed to be angry, you're not allowed to unpack your bags and stay there. And that information, like that, well, that advice is something that I still repeat to myself still to this day, because I think that's such an important piece of advice that anyone can apply anywhere throughout.
Took the words right out of my mouth. I'm
Mhm.
thinking, anyone, doesn't have to be a cancer
Yes.
diagnosis, can
Yeah.
literally take that mindset and apply it and get so much value out of it. Like,
Yeah.
don't ignore how you're feeling.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
right to feel the way you're feeling, but just
Exactly.
don't
You're
stay
human.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of it, is you have to acknowledge that you're human. You're gonna have emotions, you're gonna have reactions, but you have to control your response. And that was like, after talking with her, I was like, okay. And I was sitting in my walk-in closet. I was sitting on the floor next to all of my shoes and everything, because that's my happy place. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here for another like 15, 20 minutes. I'm gonna let myself cry. I'm gonna let myself process this. And then I'm gonna get up. And as soon as I walk out of this closet, game on.
Game on.
And yeah, that was I told myself, like, we're leaving this sadness and this anxiety, we're leaving it in here. And it's go time.
That's
And
incredible. So this has got to be, I mean, someone had to have either, shared that same tidbit of knowledge to your friend. What was her name again?
Tristan.
Tristan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
someone had to have shared it with Tristan,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe she developed that skill, heard it through something. But if someone is hearing that and still trying to like unpack that and how to apply it, it's like, Sarah, is there a way you think that people can develop that kind of skill as well, or is that something that you walk through clients with at all?
Yeah, there's two ways. Ashley did explain it very, very well. She kind of gave herself a time limit, like you're allowed to have those emotions. And I think people feel like it should be positive or negative emotions. What about if we just call them natural emotions? Like emotions are allowed to happen. And I feel like there's this persona of like if you're upset about something, that's a bad persona. And it's not true. We can just say that's a natural feeling that you get. And within what you felt like what you were experiencing, I love how you actually did put yourself in a closet and you're like, you know what, like I'm going to leave it here. You put yourself in a physical place and you left it there and you gave yourself a timeline, which that's fantastic. And something that I do walk clients through is very similar to that. It's like, okay, allow yourself to have this feeling, but then give yourself a moment of maybe you want to feel like this for a week. Maybe it's 2 days. Maybe it's however long you need it to be to like get through this. But like you said, don't unpack your bags completely. Have a couple shirts out, have a couple pants. But once you finally wear those clothes, that's your
Yeah.
time limit. So
Yep.
the way you explained that was fantastic. Now, another way, if somebody needs like a little bit more of an understanding, more of a visualization piece, there's something called signal zones. So Signal zones are very similar to like if you look at a stoplight where it's red, yellow, and then green. So if it's yellow, of course, what am I feeling right now? Maybe you're feeling at a 7 to 10 and you feel like that emotion is okay to deal with, so you can proceed on. Now, if you feel like you're in the yellow, let's say that's more at a 6 to 4-ish number there. And this is where I gave somebody a scale, like, okay, let's go through 1 through 10. I guess I forgot to explain that portion. But if you give it a number 2 and you feel like you might be at a 5, you're at that yellow piece where it's like, okay, I'm okay, but I might need to hold back and stop for a moment, see what I'm feeling, see what I'm hearing and experiencing, and kind of give yourself a moment of grace. And then if you are at that 1 to 3, like, hey, you guys need to cut it cold turkey, give yourself some space, give yourself that timeline to be able to experience those things. And those two ways can really help people understand, go through your emotions, you're allowed to have them, but of course, don't unpack your bags.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love
Put
it.
the toothbrush back. It's time to get to business.
Right.
It's that old saying, house
Yeah.
guests and fish smell bad after 3 days.
Yep.
It's like, all right, it's time to go.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry. All right, so fantastic. You've got this great step forward in it scary, diagnosis, and you already have like this aura of positivity around you,
Mhm.
positive influences, sharing little golden nuggets with you. How, when you're going through it though, you know, you dip into and you pop back out of, right? It's got to be a roller coaster
Oh,
of
yeah.
emotion. And now, so
Absolutely.
you're not quite 5 years, but you're approaching
Yep.
your
Just
5 years in
Yeah.
March, right?
Yep.
So there had to have been a host of emotions throughout this. Kind of,
Oh, yeah.
Talk through some of that with us.
Yeah. And well, so for me, so initially, I was in a good mindset. I had accepted that, this is where I'm at right now. I'm not going to be upset because one of the things that I've always been a firm believer in is we're all assigned a mountain to climb, and this was my mountain, and I'm not going to be upset because I was assigned this for a reason. And so I accepted that and kind of started within the journey. Now, initially, the treatment center that I was initially going to, they it was I still to this day have no idea how they decided that this was their best move forward. But they had told me without knowing anything, any of the biology of the tumor, anything like that, with any genetic mutations or anything like that. They just told me like, oh yeah, nope, we'll probably just do some radiation. We'll do a lumpectomy to cut the tumor out, and then you'll be good to go. And it didn't sit right with me, the way that they were just like, oh yeah, it's like washing your hands and done. Like really? That doesn't
Right.
seem right.
That's simple,
Yeah,
huh?
interesting.
Yeah. I'm just like, are you serious right now?
Red
And
flags
so,
are, yeah,
yeah.
bells are going off.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had scheduled an appointment for about 2 weeks later because they wanted to wait for the rest of the biopsy to come back and to have the full biology of the tumor. Well, I came back. It was April 15th, and I drove 45 minutes to get up there, and I'm sitting in one of the exam rooms, and the nurse comes in and says, well, we need to reschedule because we still don't have any of the results, so just go up front and we'll get you back in as soon as we have those.
Mhm.
And that was again that gut feeling kicked in. I was just like, I don't want to be here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do not trust these people. I do not want to be here. I'm not comfortable.
Right.
And so I went up to reschedule my appointment, and the gal was very dismissive. So again, this is April 15th, 2 weeks after I had got my diagnosis. And she's like, well, I guess we can probably get you in like around May 10th. And I was just like,
Excuse
ma'am, I
me?
have cancer.
Right.
Man,
I'm glad
geez.
you're in no rush about this.
Yeah, I was like, you think there might be something sooner? And she's just like, well, I mean, it looks like we might have something on the 6th. Then I was just like, okay, fine, whatever. Put me down for that. What? And
Yeah.
she's like, do you need to know the time? And I was just at that point, I was
You
like,
had
yeah,
already said,
whatever,
I'm not.
whatever.
Right.
Sure, tell me whatever. And I went out into the parking lot, and the night before this appointment, I was just having this uneasy feeling that this wasn't where I was supposed to be seeking my care. And sure enough, the right next to me, the TV is playing, and an advertisement for Cancer Treatment Centers of America came on, and something just told me, write the number down. And so I wrote it down. And yeah, so as soon as I left that appointment, I went out to my car, called them, and within an hour, I had 4 appointments scheduled, and was it just went from there. So a week after I had called them, I was in their facility getting my chemo port put in.
Wow.
And that week, I will 100% be honest about this. I definitely spiraled. And the reason why I did like this, what seems like kind of a moot point of talking about that treatment center, is because, so, they're telling me, oh yeah, radiation, a really quick surgery, you're not going to lose your hair, you're not going to have to do this, to I am on I'm on telehealth with my doctor, and she's telling me, she's like, no, like, you're gonna have to do chemo, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do that, you're gonna lose your hair, all of this. And so it was just like dumped in my lap,
Right.
going from like, oh yeah, no, like, this is all I'm gonna be doing, to like, nope. And so
Yeah.
that
So
definitely,
super casual to, all right,
yeah, yeah,
reality check here.
exactly,
This
yeah.
is what's in front of you.
Yeah, and I saw the man behind the curtain, and so I was just like, "Okay, crap." And I remember, again, so that eternal optimist in me, I was just like, "Well, yeah, if I'm going through chemo, at least I'll get to lose weight." It makes me laugh to this day. My doctor, she goes, "Yeah," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Is there nothing sacred?
Well, and then she tells me, she's just like, well, if your body isn't shutting down because of the steroids we have to put you on, we want you to be gaining weight. And so she's like, okay. So, I went from, again, just like, apparently, like, I refer to it as, the diet cancer mentality of like, oh, just some light radiation and a little surgery, to like, nope, full blown, like, you're
Yeah.
doing chemo, you're doing a double mastectomy, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And it was just, and it happened so quick. And so I definitely did spiral during that time, because it was just that processing of emotion, and realizing, like, I'm in the thick of this, and this is
Mhm.
something that, I have to go through, I have to do this. And so you're faced with your own mortality, and anytime that happens, that is something that, it's a lot to process, and it will mess with your brain. It will destroy you if you let it. And that is when I started doing my self check-in walks. And so I would go for a walk every day, and I would listen to music, and just let myself let my brain kind of wander, and relax. And then I'd probably be about like a mile into my walk, and then I'd be like, okay, how am I feeling? And if it was anything other than I'm feeling at peace, I'm feeling okay, I'm feeling happy. So, okay, well, like, if I'm feeling anxious, I'm upset. well, what's causing that?
Mhm.
And just really break it down to the levels, because like you're never going to find the source unless you really dig through the dirt. You got to find the root. And once I got to the root of the issue, it's like, okay, here's the problem. Can we do anything to solve this problem or change it? And if I could, well, then, okay, these are the steps I'm going to take to change this and make it better. If it was a situation where it's like, I can't, there's nothing I can do to change this, it's like, okay, then how do I change how I'm looking at this? Because I have to change my perspective on this, because otherwise, this is going to eat at me. And that is going to negatively impact how I move forward in my treatment, how I move forward with my care. And I can't be living my life like this. And
Right.
so that was something that I made sure that I was doing every single day and documenting everything, waking up in the morning, the first thing I would do before I got out of bed was I would list 3 things that I was grateful for. And I made myself, it's like it has to be specific, because I again, my mindset was, the Lord has blessed me specifically. He's very specific in his blessings, so I need to be specific in my gratitude. And
Mhm.
so that was another thing that I made sure that, like, be grateful. Like, yes, this sucks, but you
Mhm.
have all of this to be happy and grateful for. So
Everything
freaking
else,
focus
yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
So I gotta ask. So this skill, you have all these skills and all this positivity. uh, Was that something that just came naturally to you? Like, hey, I'm going to do this, or did someone say, "Look, this is a way to potentially get through this," um, and then
Um,
you adopted it?
No, I think it honestly, it kinda came naturally to me. There may have been, just throughout my life, people that I've encountered that I may have
Little hints and
taken
things,
things
yeah,
from, and kind
and
of
just adapted it to this
yeah,
situation.
yeah, there may have been, situations like that, but I can't really pinpoint
Mhm.
exactly, a certain
It,
source.
it
And, yeah, so that's just, I've always been just very obnoxiously positive and happy, and
I just can't get over your first experience of going to that other facility, and they just seem to just like throw you to the corner. And
Mhm.
you I hear that story a lot. It's just like you can tell the doctors just want to get their job done, and they aren't really caring about the patient
Yes.
at all. And that's why, honestly, I feel like why I have a job sometimes. It's like people don't have empathy anymore, and they just want to get their 9 to 5 done. I
Yep.
know when it comes to doctors and nurses, it's clearly longer than that. But like you could tell you were unwelcome there. And one of the
Mhm.
things that I love that you did is like you took control of your own fate. Like you knew that this didn't feel right and you couldn't control when they scheduled you because clearly they wanted to wait months and months and months, but you took an opportunity to go find an additional source somewhere else. And then within that, I think like I know that it was really hard on you to hear all of that, but I think it also gave you a sense of relief that like we're getting things figured out, we're
Mhm.
getting things done. It's hard to hear sometimes, but at the same time, like you were able to control that. And sometimes, like we always look at the things that we can't control. Like clearly, we couldn't control how we got the breast cancer. We have no clue how that occurred, but you were able to control the small things. And then the additional piece that you brought up, like you took a moment of grace of just being able to take a walk without being you were mindless basically. And
Mhm.
there's actually a thing called walking meditation where you're not really thinking about anything, you're just kind of zoning out. You can do it sitting, you can do it like literally clearly doing the meditation sitting for long periods of time without doing anything. But when I said sitting meditation, I meant eating meditation. Like you can do other activities as well. But you gave yourself that grace period of let me just get some air. Let me just hang out here. I'm sure even though without you knowing it, you probably were doing some deep breathing and focusing on how you felt during that. And then you checked in with yourself, and that gave you the moment of, I can actually give a great like analysis of it compared to like going for the walk and then, okay, how am I feeling? Well, if you did it right when you started your walk, you probably wouldn't get a good analysis right then and there. Like the fact that you gave yourself once again that moment of grace, it helped. And then that additional piece about every single day that you would write something that you're grateful for. Because I think a lot of people, our minds love to survive. They don't want us to thrive. So when all this bad stuff happens, it's really easy for us to think about all the things that are going wrong compared to what is right in our life. And sometimes people think like, oh, I can just like think about these things. But like you said, God was very specific on giving you this. So you need to be very specific on how you're thinking about this too and understanding it. And the fact that you wrote it down, it just like it's magic when you put pen to paper. Like I think nowadays with technology, we kind of forget that pen is so magical. Like I don't know if you've ever had a day where you felt like there's so much you have to do, and then you just write down your to-do list. You're like, oh, this doesn't look that
That's
bad
it.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And
That's it.
yeah.
That's
And
it.
this, again, this is what being a Luddite comes in helpful, because you just break out that pen and paper and just, it makes it so much better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, it is magical to just hear you be able to understand those things. And like I know we can't specifically pinpoint exactly how you like learned and discovered that, but like there's so many elements within our personal life that occur to us. Like I'm sure at your job you had some extra things that probably helped with this, family and friends that you were able to take pieces from, but now you can create something for yourself throughout all those life experiences. And now that you're going through something, it's just like, wow, like all this, like I have no clue where I got this skill from, but I'm able to apply it here.
Mhm.
And I think that, you know, I'm grateful that you're able to do something like that. And it seems like you're very bubbly and happy with this. Like it's awesome that, you know, you're able to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. And that's my main goal. And I mean, that's why, you know, I told Lou this when I initially was telling him my stories. You know, God made me very obnoxious and outgoing for a reason. And, you know, with giving giving me this mountain, and then, you know, I still have access to so many people with through Spartan and Tough Mudder. Like I have that platform where I have access to people that I can share this story, and hopefully, hopefully I can help some people.
Yeah.
And
Because even if we can't like pinpoint, like Sarah said, how the skill,
yeah,
just magically came to you.
yeah,
It's
Right.
still it's an incredible tool to have in the toolbox so that other people hearing this can go, okay, yeah,
yeah,
that's incredible that she just had it, naturally, but I can bolt that skill on. I can
yeah,
pull that tool out because now I learned a skill that I can
mhm,
adopt. And
yeah,
that's what's more important, is the skill rather than, how you necessarily learned it.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it's good, but then, those folks, and certainly yourself, paying it forward, teaching other people,
Mhm.
you know, explaining it to others, that's important, and we
Yeah,
certainly appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. And it's something that, yeah, I wish I could kind of go back and see, because I know there's influence that led to how I am. But, you know, for
Well,
people
you
that
did say
are,
your dad was a rock star, right?
oh yeah,
So I'm sure
oh yeah,
he imparted a lot of wisdom to
yeah,
you over the years.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dad is he's a very stoic man. He's
Hmm.
very quiet. He and my mom are so opposite, because my mom and I are very similar. I'm definitely more outgoing than she is, but when you see my parents together, I mean, they've been married now for 44 years, together
Wow.
for 48. Um,
Okay.
And yeah, and I still, when they come down to Arizona to snowbird, like I'll still catch them slow dancing in the kitchen together.
Aw.
So I mean, they still
Nice,
act like
nice.
teenagers in love, and so, and I know how blessed I am
That's
with
good.
that.
They've
So
modeled quite a bit. I mean,
yeah, it,
certainly Faith seems to also be a huge foundation for you, which I'm sure
yes.
also
Oh,
played a massive
absolutely.
part.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So,
that's something that, it doesn't have to be at the forefront, because I know there are some people that are listening that, that doesn't really apply to them. So I don't want people to think that that has to be like the cornerstone. Um,
but if it's
wherever you
there,
find strength. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Wherever you can pull strength, especially in
Yeah,
situations like that, you have to pull wherever you can. And if that's
yeah,
from a friend, a family member, a favorite movie, song, whatever,
Mhm.
something. Yeah,
do what you need to do. And I mean, well, and speaking of songs, I mean, I even one of my I actually tattooed it on my forearm, which you're not going to be able to see because it's going to be in reverse, but it's right there. I will tell you what it says.
yeah,
It
yeah.
is so it's scars that only the years provide, they become your reasons to fight. And it is from a Tremonti song, that's a lot like Sin, I think is the name of the song. Blanking right now. But it was a lyric that I had heard that it just stuck with me. And that was something that, and this was before diagnosis. And I remember hearing it and repeating it to myself when, if I was going through something stressful, or there, something didn't work out, I would repeat that to myself. And so that's something that, if find that inspiration, find that strength where you can, and keep your eyes open to it,
Mhm.
because you never know what is going to be that thing that just digs into your brain and roots there, and is just saved for later to help
Yeah,
you. It's something to help you later on your journey. So
for
Mhm.
sure.
quote Zelda for a minute.
Love it,
So
man.
you did share when we first spoke that there was a silver lining to
Yes.
all this,
Hmm.
and I think that is another one of those magical moments that I definitely don't want to lose. Uh, you sharing that piece. So would
Yeah.
you mind getting into that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that the three of us had discussed was, so I appreciate whenever I share my story, people automatically, they're like, oh my gosh, breast cancer at 35 years old. That's so terrible. I'm so sorry you went through that. And I appreciate the sentiment. I appreciate where they're coming from, because they're appealing to that human side of you. You don't like seeing people suffering, knowing that they've suffered going through stuff like that. So I appreciate it. However, I confuse the hell out of people when I say this, when I say I am so grateful for what I've gone through. And going through cancer is one of the best things that probably could have happened to me, because the big overlying thing that you guys already know about, the dramatic reveal, my diagnosis led to my mom going and getting checked out, and she was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer a month and a half after I was. And my mom is so stubborn. Like, she says I'm stubborn, but who'd I get
Yeah.
it from, Mom? But,
Yeah.
but I know she's the type of stubborn that she would have let it go to a point where, Lord only knows how far along it would have progressed before she finally bit the bullet and gotten checked out. And so that ultimately is my biggest silver lining with this whole thing. And then the trickle down from that for my silver lining is, again, I get to share my story with people and show people that, yeah, sometimes life might suck and stuff is going to get thrown at you that you're not ready for. And you may feel like you're not able to process it, but you can. You
Mhm.
can do it. You got to buckle down And that's not to say you're not going to have your bad days when processing it. I definitely, as positive as I was, I definitely still had days where I stayed in bed and cried and let myself process it. But ultimately, I'm able to share that with people, that you can get through this. And this is one of the things that helped me. And, I hope it can
And you
help
didn't
others.
stay there.
Yeah,
You
no, it
unpacked
did
for
not
a
stay
little
there.
bit, but
Yeah,
yeah.
did not stay there. And yeah, and I mean, that's when I start really looking at the silver lining of the situation, the problem just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until it's just one thing surrounded by so many great things that it's forced me to look at this and say, I can't not be grateful for this situation. And that's how I choose to look at it. And I know I am one of the lucky ones that I had, with breast cancer being very treatable, very curable. So I know that does play into it. But at the same time, this is something that can be applied to so many things. And I had heard so many times from doctors and nurses where they had patients come in, and yeah, they may not have had like the most amazing prognosis, but it would be survivable if if they stuck with their treatment plan, if they kept with it and everything worked out. But they would see people that would degrade so quickly because they just had such a negative mindset about it, and they would talk down on the situation. They would talk down on what they were going through, and they would just watch this person deteriorate. And that was something that I wouldn't let myself do, because I've always been a believer that the body will follow wherever the mind goes. And I was very quick to rein myself in when I would notice that I was kind of getting upset about, something happening with this, or what, the fear of the unknown. And so I would just say, okay, I can't control that. So we can't let ourselves worry about that. We'll deal with that whenever we have the information. It's that you don't have enough information to worry about that yet. And so that was kind of my whole mindset, and how that
And what's
whole
incredible,
thing.
and what's incredible is like, okay, now you apply this mindset to being diagnosed with cancer, and coming out on the other side, you know, you're months away from 5 years, right? Which is
Mhm.
a major milestone, right? It's like, okay, now something, like you said, puts it in perspective. Now something else hits you. It's like, that's it. Really?
Yeah.
Things could be so much worse, right?
Yep.
It's like Goggins says about putting things in the cookie jar. Like, this is a cookie jar moment. Like, okay, you
Yep.
pull that out when you're faced with something tough, and you're like, that yeah, this sucks, but it's not breast cancer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, "Okay,
and then
alright."
you're like, oh, I guess it's not that bad after
Yeah,
all.
survived worse, so
Exactly.
I think too, just with I call us all so domesticated now. Everything is so easy. Like we're in our if the weather is cold, guess what? We can stay in our homes. If we don't want to eat the food that's maybe the restaurant serving, like we can have something at home. Like it's very easy for us to basically just shelter ourselves.
Mhm.
And I think the toughest people are the ones that get a little scared every so often. And
Yeah.
I know if we're talking about David Goggins, like clearly he had such a hard bringing when he was a kid that eventually he was just like, I don't want to live like this anymore. He did have that um, kind of that like prey mindset, and he changed it to that predator mindset. So if we're thinking about like prey mindset, their eyes on their side, they're always looking around, basically worrying about people and being eaten, where the predators, their eyes are up front, and they have more of a clear vision of what's going on. And I think us, we're back and forth a little bit where we can clearly need to be a little bit more aware, but at the same time, we have to be able to center our eyes and see the focus point after a certain time frame. Of course, like we always talk about, like, hey, you can still be cautious, but don't stay there for too long. And that predator mindset really allows you to just kind of get over that hump. And being scared, I think, is really, really helpful of being like, you know what, I can basically conquer anything. And I do think Spartan races and like having those like go ruck kind of races are so terrifying sometimes. It's like, of course we know we can run the miles, of course we know we can like do the obstacles, but can we deal with the terrain, can we deal with like the mud and like all that? And those are the things that people kind of forget about when you go into a nice cozy gym that's 68
Hmm.
degrees on your nice soft treadmill with your nice cushiony shoes. Like I see some of these people run Spartan races barefoot, and I'm just like, how are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
doing that? And
Oh, yeah.
then yeah, the more heart than scars too. Like
Mhm.
everybody there, like they all just come together and push themselves, and it's just remarkable to see them
Yeah.
being able to do that. And last one, still sometimes in these Olympics, like some people are swimmers and they don't even have limbs. It's like, what's your excuse? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you see all this, like what is your excuse? Let me hear it, because I don't
Right.
think it's
Right.
valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's, I always try not to compare my struggles with anybody else's, but there are times where it's like, like, oh, okay, the bakery that you like going to didn't have your favorite kind of muffin.
Right.
That person just had their dad killed in a car accident. So
Yeah.
perspective, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
I call them rich
Yeah.
people problems because
Yeah.
they get so angry when their jet can't take them to Paris for lunch. You know what I
Oh
mean? It's
gosh,
just
I
like
know,
it.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
It's like, yeah, we all know who
So
that's in reference
that's
to, but we won't say it for legal reasons.
so the takeaway, I guess, is, it's like, yeah, life is obviously, it's going to throw obstacles at you,
Yep.
and it's unavoidable. And you know what? There's also value if you haven't had any obstacles thrown your way to maybe create some and
Yeah.
build some resiliency, like through doing, Spartan races or Tough Mudder or a Go Ruck event, or, pick your flavor, pick your hard, but do something that takes you out of your comfort zone and get used to being out of your comfort zone and dealing with that, because those lessons can apply to so much,
Mhm. Yep.
if you allow them.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I had I've said this in the past with while going through treatment. I so to kind of break it down for people. So with breast cancer, they kind of give you the option. Well, again, depending on how far you've progressed. Where I was at with mine, they gave me the option of I could either go through treatment fully and then do the surgeries after, or I could do the surgeries before and then do treatment after that. And I opted to do the treatments first. And I honestly I don't know really fully why I decided to go that route, but I'm grateful that I did, because so I after my first treatment, I mean, I went in, I was so nervous. And I remember my old phone used to do the thing where it was one of the galaxies where you would put your finger on the little pulse thing
Oh,
back, and it
yeah,
would
yeah, yeah,
register like your heart rate and your stress level. Usually
yeah.
my stress level is pretty low just because, again, like previously being a 911 operator, you learn to kind of regulate.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I remember like for the first time ever, it was all the way to like maroon. and,
Oh, jeez.
and I was my heart rate was insane. I was absolutely just terrified
Oh my
of
god.
what was to come.
Mhm.
And I I remember it was about 3 days after my first treatment. I could still feel the lump, but I was poking at it. I was like, that feels smaller. And so that was my pivot, where, because I was still kind of like, processing, I'm, gonna lose my hair, I'm gonna gain weight, I'm not gonna be able to have kids. Like, all this stuff was just like processing through my brain, and that was my pivot point. And so I was like, okay, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I knew with chemo, it's like I can't stand still. I can't go around. The only way is through. So I have to do this. I don't have an option. So damn it, if I'm gonna have to do this, I'm gonna make it fun. And I'm gonna have a good time, because it's like I'm not gonna sit and spend the next few months in a treatment center with needles and stuff attached to me and being
Right.
grumpus about it. It was like, I'm gonna have fun. And so I would bring
You
in,
got to give me an example. What did you do?
Yeah.
well, so the staff at the treatment center loved me because I love baking. And so every week for my treatments, I would bring in baked goods and games and movies, and I didn't really get a whole lot of other patients that were in at the same time, because of course this was like the height of COVID, and so
Right.
they kind of kept us separated, but would just try and have fun and bring stuff in, just kind of joke around with everybody, and just try to make the best of a bad situation, I guess. And so that was my way of coping and trying to make it better. And I mean, I definitely had a good time while doing it, because the staff at the treatment center I went
And
to,
they did too. That's right. They got
yeah,
free
and
baked goods.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
yeah, it's like, they had, like, they got cookies and whatever else I was making, and
That's great.
but yeah, I mean, they were just wonderful, and so that's what I chose to focus on. Was I'm surrounded by great people, and I'm getting better, so we're
Mhm.
gonna focus on that.
That's incredible. It's a tactic my mom used to use too. She'd bring cookies everywhere,
Yeah,
or baked stuff, right?
Yeah.
Especially like to the mechanic. She'd be like, "Here, I made you this. You're
yeah,
gonna take care of me, right?"
right. Yeah, you're not gonna tack on like blinker fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And I love that center too. They made you feel comfortable compared to the
mhm,
other place as
yeah,
well. Like, I'm just imagining if you did stay at that other place, like I think your whole entire experience would have been completely different. Just like, these
yeah,
people don't want me here. I don't want to be here. I'm just trying to go through the motions. Where with the other place,
yeah.
like, you were able to see, like, they cared. So then you also wanted them to have a good time while they also saw you. So you all could just experience something better than what was actually happening. So
And
that's
that's a
awesome.
great point, Sarah, because
Yeah.
people forget that there's there is that benefit. It's like, I might be going through crap, but it doesn't mean that I can't still, you know, give something away. Your light doesn't diminish by sharing it with other people, right?
Yep.
If anything, it grows. It makes
Mhm.
everything around you brighter. So why not, share that? That's incredible. I'm really
Yeah.
glad that you
Mhm.
shared that
And
at this point.
and well, and a side note that Sarah was pointing out with the treatment centers, something I want to call out for the people listening is, be an advocate for yourself,
Yeah.
and trust your gut, because you have an intuition for a reason. It's a divine connection that you
Mhm.
still have, and you have it because you need that as your secondary guide.
Mhm.
And had I not listened to that, then yeah, I Lord only knows, I probably
Yeah.
would have ended up with a little bit different of an outcome or a different mentality with it.
Mhm.
But you have that for a reason. And if people don't want to hear you, if they don't want to take you seriously, don't stop until you find someone that does. Because, and
Right.
especially with breast cancer, a lot of younger women do get dismissed because it's not a typical thing for women under the age of, I believe, 40, 45 is the usual benchmark. And so when they see someone that's coming and that's 35 like I was, or even younger, they're very quick to kind of just dismiss it and be a little bit more. It was like, oh no, it's just in your head. And like anyone that is doing that, just run from that office, find someone else that will listen. And if you're in an area where you only have X amount of doctors, find a way to get to another place and find the help that you need, because your life is owed that. Like you are supposed to be here for a reason, and take that seriously.
Yeah, and I feel like with telehealth now, it's even easier to not be so limited geographically with some of the best care. Ultimately, you have to travel, but at least for like initial, consultations, there's a lot that you can do now. So,
yeah, there really is.
I mean,
So,
telehealth is great. I just wanted to say, like, I do have Crohn's disease, and that's one of the things that I had to go through when I was really young. I was also dismissed, just up the pills, you'll get better, and I was not getting better at all. But
Yep.
since I do travel in an RV, I am able to do some telehealth just for my check-ins now, and it's fantastic that I can just, instead of driving, because I'm still originally from Pittsburgh, PA, I used to still have to drive 3 hours just for a
Yeah.
check-in. And then with the pandemic, it did make it so much better where a quick 15-minute conversation with my doctor, I can do a telehealth. And of course, when I get my testing, I have to make the drive. But yeah, telehealth is fantastic. There's always a way that you can figure it out. It might be a little challenging, but I know we talked about technology and how we're not techie savvy at
Yeah.
all, but at the same time, things like that are so like I think we're very blessed for that.
Yeah. Agreed.
Agreed.
But
Well,
yeah, sorry,
Ashley,
what were you
thank
saying,
you.
Lou?
I was going to say, Ashley, thank you so much for coming on. Before we wrap things up, I mean, you covered a lot of bases, but are there any parting thoughts, anything else that you just, want to drop here at the end?
I think the big thing is, I kind of what I had just said, I'll use that as a little bit of a lead in. Take your health seriously. You have one body, you have one life. And this isn't just, being mindful of like, oh, maybe eat a carrot or two every now and again. This is be mindful of what you're letting into your mind too, because we are the sum of the things that surround us. And if you are surrounding yourself with negativity and things that are just upsetting to you, you're setting yourself up to not truly be at peace with yourself, with your environment, and that is very important. It's okay to unfollow someone that you just find agitating. It's okay to have a crappy meal every now and again, because sometimes McNuggets are good for the soul. Are they good for your health? No, but like there are times
But the
like
soul, that's right.
yeah, but and that's it, because you have you have to take care of your mind, your body, your heart, your soul, and that is something that I think we just dismiss too quickly, and we think, oh well, I'm gonna do self-care Sunday, and we just stay in bed and put like a face mask on. It's like that's not true self-care.
Right.
Check in with
It's so
yourself.
much deeper than that. For
Yes.
sure.
Yes, check in with yourself and really do the self checks and make sure, like, are you really okay? And if you're not, if it's something that you need help with, it's okay to reach out and find someone that will listen and can help you through that. You don't have to do it alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Well
Wow, very
said.
powerful.
I try. Yeah,
Well,
I've
thank you
been
again.
told I'm very charismatic and bubbly, but yet I'm also very good at convincing people, so I could probably be a good cult leader. So
Oh man.
it's like a positive note to end on. So if anyone wants to join the cult, I mean, if there's an interest, I'll do it.
Clearly, there'll be cookies. So
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
there'll be
plethora
cookies,
of
but I'll
cookies.
be there.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what kind you want, I'll make it.
I like snickerdoodle.
nice.
Ooh,
It's hard to say no
yeah,
to Snickerdoodle. Yes.
yeah, it's
Yes, I
true.
love them. And also
Yeah.
cinnamon. Anything cinnamon, I'm for.
Yes. Oh,
Nice.
yeah. And see, I'm okay. I'm the weird one. I was always the kid that would prefer oatmeal raisin over chocolate chip.
Oh, I love oatmeal raisin.
Yes,
You kidding?
it's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
is good,
it
but
gets so much crap, but it's so good.
And
it's
don't you
because it's
dare put
soft.
it. Don't don't ever put chocolate chips in your oatmeal cookies, so that when you bite into it, you're like, "What? That was supposed to be a raisin."
It was supposed to be oatmeal raisin. Like I know the popular thing is to be all like angry at raisins, but I mean they're wonderful. They're so good. And like with how many people are enthusiastic about wine, like maybe you should show some respect because that raisin, like that is
I've
your wine's
never thought of it.
grandfather.
Yeah, and basically you're having fruit too. It's just
Yeah,
a very
exactly.
sunbathed grape, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
So, oh, and so wanted to bring this up. So I'm not sure if this is something we do now or if
Oh,
it's off air. You guys had asked
we can edit
about
it out. Right?
finding another person, like who you guys should
Yes.
talk to.
Yes.
Yes,
I wanted to ask you,
absolutely.
Lou, if we were going to do that or
And
not.
yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
yeah.
it it took me a minute to really think about it because so working with Spartan, I have come across so many incredible people and I've heard so many amazing stories and I really had to kind of break it down and think about well number one whose story would be impactful and
Mhm.
potentially and help people because I know that that's something that is very important and very much the outline of the podcast.
Mhm.
And then I also was like, okay, then who's going to be accessible and would be willing to do this? And
Yeah, yeah.
so it brought me up to my friend Josh Kohler. He does Second Chance OCR. So he's a father of two and has been in the OCR world for years and years. He's done over
Oh,
250. And say, Sarah, you probably know who I'm
yeah,
talking about. Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
he had oh gosh, I'm probably gonna get this wrong. I think it was an aortic
Heart surgery.
dissection, I think.
Oh,
And
wow.
like and so in that was in 2020. He had open
Okay.
heart surgery.
Yeah.
He had a collapsed lung, like all of this. And
Wow.
he came back in like 2022, 2023, and was doing trifecta after trifecta. I want to say in 2022, so it was
40
about a
some.
year and a half after his open
Yeah.
heart surgery, he did 20 trifectas, which for anyone that's not tracking on the Spartan lingo means that he did 60 races with, the super, the beast, and the sprint. And so it takes a lot. And not only does he do that, he also has his two kids
Yes.
that they all run together because it's him, his wife, and their two kids. And their daughter, I mean, she's podiumed several times. I've put many medals around her neck, and she's an
Hmm.
absolute
Nice.
sweetheart. Their son was one of our top kids racers for the longest time.
He's great. He's
And
fantastic.
yeah, and
This is incredible. Yeah.
he is a wonderful person, such an amazing story and a kind soul. And he's one that I think that you guys should reach out to. I can I'll reach out to him
Well,
too, and
that's part of the deal. You have
I'll
to
yeah.
you
Yeah, help
have
us
to
out,
make
man.
that introduction.
Right. Yes.
And there's this
I'll
there's
happily do
another
that.
part to this.
Yeah. There's
What
like
what question would you ask them?
oh oh goodness. Well, I didn't know that. Okay.
Well,
Uh,
we can let you think on it if you don't have something.
no, I
It'll be a
think
surprise for the audience when they do get to listen to
right,
them. They'll be
right.
like, "What was the question?"
I know, right? Yeah. I'd say, well, yeah, I'll have to think on that one because I want it to be a good
Okay.
one. I want it to
Yeah,
be a good one because I know
that's totally fine.
he has a lot of knowledge and just a lot to share for his
Okay.
story. And so I really want to think on
Yeah, yeah.
where can we dig and
Yeah,
Mhm.
where
get to.
when you do ultimately share the question, we can put it in the
Yeah.
show notes, and this way, or we could surprise
Yeah.
everybody. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
open to either one.
Yeah. Well,
Have a
so does that mean
cliffhanger.
that the person before me has a question that I need to answer? Because I think the person before me is Joe DeSena.
So
Yeah.
Joe had actually shared with us Rory from 1 Year No Beer, and we're just trying to
Oh,
work out the
yeah.
logistics. So this is actually a bonus episode. We're
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah,
like, you know
that's
what?
right.
Let's not. I was like, let's not wait until and then it potentially be a couple of months. We
Yeah,
have some incredible stories, incredible people that we can showcase. We don't want to just open this up for, just high level personalities and,
yeah,
someone that it's like there's so much value in your story. Why should we only limit ourselves to, oh, this is, a business owner or,
Mhm.
yeah,
something significant, you know?
yeah,
I don't want to diminish anyone's story. So
yeah,
we're very thankful that you came on.
yes, well,
But yeah, this
I'm
is a
glad
bonus
to be
episode.
here.
So
Yeah.
no one
Well,
was here to answer or ask any questions
okay.
specifically, but you kind of came with the understanding that, hey, you're a breast cancer badass, so
Yeah.
kind of gonna go there.
I did open it up like that, and I
Yes.
would also like to point out, this is episode number 4, and 4 is my lucky number. I actually
Oh,
have it is tattooed on my wrist in Roman numeral. It's
okay.
backwards on there, so it's gonna look like a 6 to people watching. But yeah, no, I mean, because I was born December 4th, 1984. When I was in gymnastics, anytime the number 4 was present or I went fourth in the rotation, always did really well. So
Magic
it's
happened.
yeah, always really well.
Awesome.
So yeah, so episode number 4, and I
4
just
is just speaking
yeah,
with you.
I just looked up. I was like, well, hey, there
You
we
were
go.
brought
Synchronicity.
here for a reason. That's
Yes,
exactly what you're saying right now.
Exactly. Yeah, I was
I
meant to
absolutely
be.
that's right. I believe it. And you thought
Yeah,
I forgot about you. Look at
I
that.
know. I assumed I was like, okay, I'm not important enough because I mean, and yeah,
Well,
this is
yeah,
gonna be
it was
the
months ago. Yeah, it was months
yeah.
ago
I
when
mean, well, and
we first spoke
this
about it.
yeah, I mean, this other than the fact that like my brother that's a year and let's say we're 16 months and 2 days apart. So other than that, this is the only other time I've been referred to as a bonus. So um so I'll take it.
Nice.
Um, it's
It's
been
But
all
a
yeah,
yours.
pleasure talking to you.
It
It's been
yeah.
really has
awesome
been.
to get to know you more. And I know that I'm going to be in Arizona.
Yes.
I'm in St. George, Utah right now, so I'll be
Oh
in
yeah.
Arizona, I think next month, but I am going home for Thanksgiving. So if I am in the area, I'll reach out to you. Maybe
Yes,
we can
reach
actually meet in
out.
person.
Yes, please reach out and hopefully by then I'll have my car back. It's been in the shop for almost 3 weeks now cuz getting the engine replaced for the second
Oh
time.
no, you don't have a Jeep, do you?
No, no, I have a Ford Edge. It was initially the
Oh,
ones
makes
where they
sense.
were just, like, randomly exploding,
Oh Lord.
and, so it was replaced 18 months ago, and now it's, the pistons are cracked, so now it gets to be replaced again, so I'm
Oh
just
my
kind
God.
of it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun, but so, yeah.
There's that positivity.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I was like, okay, all right, I'm grateful that I have a vehicle. I'm grateful it's under warranty, so I don't have to dish out $6,000 for a brand
Yeah.
new
Yeah, no doubt.
engine. So I was like, all right, we're just gonna look on that. And like I luckily I live maybe like just under a mile from a grocery store. So I can just walk. Yeah, I
Nice.
just walk. I put on a podcast and just kind of just
See that
walk
more
along
positivity.
there.
She's like, I can get my exercise in. I can listen to a
Get my steps
podcast.
in.
Get my
Yeah.
steps in.
Yeah, I get to and yeah,
You know what? Your positivity is just toxic.
it is. It really is. I need to calm down. So I just curb my enthusiasm a little bit. So I don't know. And I mean, people have tried to kind of like damper the obnoxious, like Marsha Brady aspect of my personality, and they was like,
Not
no,
possible.
it's not gonna happen. Sorry.
Not gonna happen.
I choose happy because that is modus operandi for me, and that is how I will move forward. So yeah.
Nice. I love it.
Yes, well, and thank you guys for having me and my voice just now started failing from my like, yay guys, we almost made it. I don't fully sound like a smoker yet,
That's
but
right.
give it a few
We'll
minutes.
get there.
But thank you though for for taking the time and allowing me this platform to kind of share my story and share the message, and I hope that people hear it and they hear the intent behind it and they hear something that could help them in any way, shape, or form. And hopefully they'll hear my voice telling them, do a self check. And I'm sorry for anyone that has to be stuck with hearing my voice constantly for the remainder of this. That's not the most soothing. I said I could be a cult leader, not a singer. So
Yes. There's a difference.
Oh
but
man.
yes, but thank you guys for allowing me on, and Lou, thank you for putting up with just the obnoxious like walking over
Oh,
and
come on.
talking with you.
No. Glad you did. It was meant to be.
Yes, exactly. And I'm really happy, and I'm excited to see how your podcast develops and how it grows. And I hope that it gains more traction and people listen, because you guys are bringing out an important message, especially in this day and age. People are so willing to hop on the negativity train and just let it take them, but the destination that's going is not a fun one. It's
No.
time to get off of that and find your peace and find your happy and chase that instead.
Yeah.
So
No doubt. Well said.
yeah.
Well, with that, we'll close out for the rest of the podcast. Like I said, thank you, Ashley, so much for coming. We'll get this up and running soon. Other than that, we'll be in touch with you, and take care. All right.
Yes.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
All
me.
right. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Joining us on this exhilarating journey through resilience, determination, and the pursuit of excellence. As we wrap up this episode of Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line, remember that the finish line is really just the beginning. Keep pushing your limits, breaking down walls and reaching for the stars. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, know that you have the power to go beyond what you thought it was possible.
If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more captivating stories, expert insights, and practical tips. And don't forget to share this podcast with fellow dream chasers and barrier breakers. Until next time, this is Grip and Lou signing off. Keeping breaking barriers, my friends. Remember, it is not about the finish line. It's about what lies beyond it, and it starts with you.